Hi,
All
Jeremy.
Hi,
right.
Jeremy.
Hi. Hi, Jeff. How are you, Jeff?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm doing great. And yeah,
It's just a little bit odd for
well,
me having class time at this hour,
why?
but no, it's fine.
I know. It's a Saturday afternoon. Happy Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon to everyone. We're normally live at 9 p.m., but
Yeah.
today, no, this afternoon, we're here talking to you 3 p.m. Okay, so lately, people have been busy. Many
Uh,
teachers are back in their work, and a lot of parents are sending messages, asking us questions, and one of the things we realize is that there are still a lot of parents out there who are still, how do you say this, trying out this new remote learning thing.
New
And for the
setup.
past few weeks, we've been inviting parents,
Yeah.
new setup, to share whatever they've learned, their experiences, to help other parents, survive and thrive this uh, new way
New
of
normal.
learning, right?
Yeah.
So, new normal, yes. Okay, so our guest today, interesting, no? She has, her eldest is around 22 or 23 years old, and she has a 3-year-old kid also. And
Okay.
they already started school. They've been there for, I don't know, a month or a week, and she will be sharing with us some of her experiences. She was also an educator for like 22 years. Alright?
22 years.
So,
That's a
yeah,
really
wag na
long
natin
time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, oo. Wag na natin patagalin, Jeremy. Let's bring her in already. Alright?
All right.
So, without further ado, let's bring our guest today, this afternoon. Okay, Miss Ina De Vera. Hi, Ina. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Yes,
Hi,
oo.
Jeff. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. So, yeah, Ina, how are you? And, well, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm nervous. This is my first time to go on live, but I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Good,
Okay.
good, good. Great to
Well,
know.
don't
So,
be. Don't be
tell
nervous.
us, yeah,
Yeah.
this is
It's just
just
gonna
like
be fun. Like,
kwentuhan, and yeah, it's just like it happens in restaurants. No, people are eavesdropping. So parang ganito lang yun. So,
uh,
uh,
isn't that your
okay.
favorite time?
Oo nga eh. So I stay for hours inside a coffee shop, trying to
Yeah.
listen to. Anyway,
Other people's
sige.
conversation.
Yes, other people's conversation. I love doing that. Question lang, no? Or maybe, Ina, you can share some more about yourself, no? Parang feeling ko bitin pa yung introduction ko, no, kanina. So maybe you can tell something more about yourself.
Okay, so as you said, I am a mom. I have 6 kids. The eldest is 23 and living in the US with his fiance. And then I have 20-year-old son and a 12-year-old sixth grader, a 10-year-old fifth grader, a 6-year-old kindergartner, and a 3-year-old, our youngest, is also in early kindergarten. So I've been raising kids for the past 23 years, and I'm also an educator. So I've been teaching in a classroom setting for about 20, 22 years, and always in a progressive school. So I guess, yeah, my background is more on progressive education.
Mm, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay,
So
interesting. So,
22 years. That's
yeah.
a really long time, Jeff.
Oo. Oo.
Yes, it is from yeah, the time I graduated college until now.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason we invited Ina today is because we would want her to share some of her experiences, no, with this remote learning, from the perspective first of a mother, of a mom, and then as a teacher also. I mean, how she uses her experiences and skills as teachers to, help the her kids in this remote learning, no, in this new setup. Ina will be sharing some slides also. Maybe
Wow.
Ina, you can set up your. You will be sharing, right?
Okay.
She'll be sharing her screen also, and after this, to all the viewers watching, uh, you can ask her questions. You know, we also have some questions for her later, and yeah, no. If she's ready, then she can start sharing. Yeah, it's okay.
Hold on a second.
No worries, no worries.
Oopsie, wait lang.
Okay lang, no worries. So anyway, before we brought her in, ano, we were talking about yun nga, yung fun experiences niya, and you know, she will be sharing a lot of valuable strategies on how to make sure, well, kids will learn. You know, we'll also ask her some of the 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 materials they're using at home. No, so Ina, I'll share the screen now. This one,
Okay.
all right,
Yes,
and
please.
you can
Thank you.
start already.
Okay. So this first slide is a picture of what our old normal looked like. All of my kids were enrolled in a school, and I had enough time to teach in classrooms, reading and writing workshops, just enough time, in the week so that I could be available for my kids as a full-time mom as well. And because there's six of them, that required a lot of my time and attention. Five of them are still living at home with me, and four of them are still relatively young. So I am very fortunate to be part of a community that is very supportive of the kind of parenting that I wanted to do. So a whole bunch of us out here were trying to be more mindful parents, living healthier lifestyles away from the city. And this was something we somewhat achieved over a lot of time and effort. But on March 15, that all ended for us. And suddenly we were trapped within the four walls of our house, and all of this beautiful outdoor space was no longer readily accessible for all of us. We lost our physical contact with each other, and could only really meet on Zoom or Viber. So this brings me to our topic today, homeschooling in the time of COVID-19. So as a mom of many kids, this is not something I would have chosen for myself ever. Like I like the idea of bringing my kids to school and supporting their education by way of supporting the community and doing what I can as an educator as part of the faculty. But that has changed quite rapidly for all of us and for many families out there. And my husband and I had to sit down and talk about it early on, maybe like around April, May. It started to look like this was going to be for the long haul, like not just a few weeks, not just a few months, but maybe we had to start thinking in terms of years. So given that situation and the unique makeup of our family, having multiple age kids of multiple grades, we had to consider our options and what it was we were going to do for them. So this is what we came up with for deciding to homeschool. First of all, we felt the need to be in charge of their curriculum. So what was going to happen is if I signed up for a school, I would be receiving four different plans from four different teachers. I mean, they are very well done, but my capacity as a mom would be very limited. Opening four computers and helping kids in different settings would have been a very great challenge for me. So we thought as a couple, it would be probably smarter to take charge of the curriculum and try to tailor fit it to the needs of our family. So the second thing is, as parents, we know our kids really, really well. I mean, we know their emotions, their strengths, their weaknesses, and it's an opportunity for us now to tailor fit the curriculum to build on their needs and to capitalize on their strengths. The third thing we decided was that as a family, we really try to limit their media time. So being out here and being part of a Waldorf school, a Waldorf community, this is one of the big values that we have, is to just delay it as much as possible. They don't have their own smartphones. They don't have access to like their own personal iPads and stuff. So going online for school was something that would have been difficult. So what this allows us to do is to give them face-to-face time, also because I'm a teacher and I thought I had maybe some of the skills that would be needed for this kind of transition. Fourth, we could utilize skills of other people, not just me, in the household. We are fortunate enough to have our eldest son home, and he's on a long, very long break until college starts for him in September. So he speaks Spanish. He's really good at math. So this is something that he was amenable to doing. And my husband, who likes puttering in the garden, decided to take on both PE and gardening. And then our other household staff who are here with us, who decided to stay with us during the lockdown, instead of going home to their families, they're really good with other things too. They have really strong skills that they could teach our kids in languages, in gardening, in cooking, and even in crocheting and knitting. So we get to make use of real on-hand resources. This was a challenge in the beginning. I was looking at different curricula online and wondering, how am I going to get Amazon to deliver to me on time, for instance, if the ports were closed, or none of the bookstores, I couldn't even get paper or art materials. But it really forced us to be creative as a family, to look around at what resources we did have. And if you take a look at our youngest, Toby, here, he's doing patterns, and I didn't have to cut paper or make shapes for him. It's literally from found objects in our garden and a sungka kit that we had lying around. Okay, so for those of you who are thinking about homeschooling and like me, never intended to do it, but now are faced with the challenge of actually really considering it. One of the first things we had to do as a family was to establish a really healthy home rhythm. So like most people, I think, around the world, when this COVID first started, we were all lost and anxious and didn't know what to expect. And in a way, we still don't know how long this will be. So our schedule was really out of whack. It was like one long, endless summer without any like markers in our day. So school was over officially, and we were on this like extended vacation in a way, but stuck at home with each other. And so we did watch a lot of movies together. We played games, and that could only last for so long until you start to look for some kind of purpose. So reestablishing this home rhythm is really key in having a peaceful or harmonious relationship inside the house. So the first thing to do is to pinpoint what your values and priorities are. So my husband, even including the kids, sat down and thought about what things do we want to keep as a family? Like, what do we really value? So we thought, okay, no matter how busy we are, we should sit down together and honor our family time. So that includes lunchtime, sitting down together for dinner, going to mass together on Sundays in this new form, Zoom, and having time with each child that where they don't have to like compete for the attention of the other kids, and then of course like having time with my husband as well. So we established anchor points during the day, and then use that to design what our rhythm would be. A third thing I want to point out is this thing called breathing in and breathing out activities, which I adopted from Waldorf Education. So when you're planning the schedules and you're curating it for your kids, it's really important to mimic like the natural breath of a child or natural breath of all of us. So when you have an in-breath, it really means doing activities that are more relaxed, like listening to a story or resting, listening to music, and then followed by out-breath activities, which are more active, where children are asked to exert effort. So movement, roughhousing games, even some of the thinking tasks are out-breath activities. So we use that, I incorporated that in designing the curriculum for the children. Smooth transitions are really important, especially now, because we're not a school, we're a home. So we have to respect, the feeling and the mood of a home and not clutter your entire house with schoolwork and projects. So it's really important that we start things and end things in a given time. And we teach the kids to pack away, so that the house looks like a house again after the learning is done. And it's important also to be really consistent, but also flexible, because there are different conditions every day, especially when it comes to their moods and their wellness. And so it's really important to work around that. And last, and I'll show you pictures for this, is utilize your space to support the rhythm that you created. So here's sample pictures of what a weekly rhythm looks like for my kindergartners. These boys are 3 years old and 6 years old. So, they're still really learning the concept of time, and we don't really impose like, okay, today is Monday, these are the things we're going to do. We just ease into them and have establish a rhythm that they can expect. So one of the things that will help your children really feel like they're in control is if they know what to expect every day, every week. So here, they dress up in the beginning of the day. When they come down for breakfast, everyone has to be dressed for school. And one way to do this is to have a color of the day. So if you look at my boys, he's in purple over here. That means it's a Monday. And the next one is pinkish red. That was a Tuesday activity. Yellow is Wednesday, and Thursday is orange. We decided to only have a 4-day week for school, so that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is rest day, family day, and also time for me to prepare for the next school week. I also introduced a gentle rhythm through the snacks that these boys prepare. So these young ones, with the help of Ate Jackie, prepare our snacks every day while the older kids are doing lessons with me. So Monday will always be a bread day. Tuesday is a soup day. Wednesday is a smoothie day, and Thursday is pasta. And you can change up the ingredients as much as you want, as long as those base recipes are there and they can expect it. This is how we organize our space. So the first thing we agreed to do was keeping our bedrooms sacred. So all of the bedrooms of my kids are not used for learning spaces. These are their spaces they can retreat to if they need time alone. It is their sleeping room and their resting room. And I have a 3-year-old who still takes naps, so it's important that he has a place to go to for that. And because we're so many in the house, we really need our own and respect each other's space too. So what I did was I utilized all our common areas. So hallways, stairwells became reading nooks. And then there are baskets laid out where they could get their sports equipment on their way out the door for outdoor play and exercises. We have a nook for science open-ended explorations, and any unfinished macrame projects are just like stowed away in the corner. So any time of the day, the kids can go to that and work on their own, really without my supervision. So what you're trying to do is also set up spaces that don't require your help. So they know what to do, they know how to pack away, they know where to get materials, and it really eases, the idea that you're kind of alone as the adult in the room, and they should be able to manage their own independent learning. And another feature of our house that we put up when COVID started was this altar. So this is where we have our Sunday masses, but I do keep it up for the week so that the children are always reminded to, say a prayer in the beginning and at the end of class. And when we come back from our morning walk, the kids will put flowers, fresh flowers, and any of the nature finds on that table. Here also, I want to point out that your materials for the week should already be set up. So I do this usually on Sunday evening after we have our family dinner. The week looks like it's ready for them again. So you have here the baskets for learning, and then on the top right, that's my story table. So the puppets are hidden under that blue cloth. And then the bottom pictures are what my house looks like in the middle of a school day. So it can be really messy, which is why it's important to transition it back into a home after all the work is done. So tip number 2, adapt a schedule that works for your family. So you really have to consider all of the members in it. I have a husband who is working from home from like about 7 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. sometimes, and he does need space to be able to make his calls. My 20-year-old son is also doing online learning, and he's also working on a student internship. So we have to work basis, and we're not creating a lot of noise during the peak hours of work. I also have kids that still need to go down for a nap, so the afternoon has to be very relaxed. I'm also finding that there are optimal times for learning. So the morning is a really good time to do academic work. So our reading, writing, your math, your main lessons happen, a chunk of it happens in the morning. And then in the afternoons, they're reserved for what we like to call, refer to as hands and heart work. So this is music, your handwork, your foreign language classes, outdoor gardening. It also really helps, other than planning for the daily activities, you take a look at a long view of what your learning will look like. So here, because we're a family and we're not a school, we take into considerations our family celebrations, our traditions, birthdays, any milestones that any member wants to celebrate is part of that. And of course, like we have to interact with the outside world, with other family members and our friends. So that's all plugged in to our schedule. So there's a time and place for everything. So here's a sample of what a schedule could look like for school when you have as many kids as I do. So I have a kindergarten group, that's 2 kids, and a middle grades group, so that's grade 5 and 6. And what I did was I identified the points of the day where we could do things together. So stuff like breakfast, our morning walk, our morning verse with the opening prayer of the day, and circle time are done together, and then we break up. So when they get back inside the house, the little kids have free play, and everything is set up for them so that they're just exploring on their own, and they're invited to do different activities that's with minimal assistance from you. And then they help to prepare the snacks for everyone, which takes about half an hour. And then the older kids work with me. I introduce a lesson and they do some independent work. Then we all take a break for snack. And after that, the little kids do probably the only activity that I will set up that has some structure, just one thing. So whether that's an art activity or a math game, then I can sit down and work with them. And then they have free play after that. So, and then the older kids, we flip. So if I work with the grade 5 before snack, I will work with the grade 6 after snack. And then we all end the morning with a story time. So with Waldorf Education, this is done by way of puppets. It's an oral storytelling, and everybody enjoys that, even the 12-year-olds. So we sit down together and we conclude the morning this way. Then the young kids are free, and the older ones still have 15 minutes with me to do the rote stuff. So this is like your quick math worksheets, your spelling worksheets, and any vocabulary practice. And then we all meet. We clean up the whole dining room and living room, which is where we do all our schoolwork, and we have lunch as a family. So this is what that might look like in the middle of the day. So I want to point out here that our circle time is always done outdoors. We really want to start the morning by taking a relatively long walk. So we're utilizing the streets outside our house. Right now, we don't have very many neighbors who are actually free to walk without masks for several blocks without seeing anyone. We're in a neighborhood that has these rules. It would be best to put your masks on. So when they come in, this is the setup that I put for the kids, and they will ask me maybe once in a while to help them read something, or they want to show me something. Then I can stop every now and then to pay attention to them. Otherwise, it is all independent play. And the toys that I've chosen for them is what we would call open-ended, so that they can be free to make and design their own stories as they play them. This is the afternoon schedule, where the kindergarten kids are already out of the school picture, so they're just doing the regular day activities, which is a quiet time, nap, play indoors quietly. And then the grade 5 and 6 kids have a math and Spanish class with their older brother. And then the middle of the day, I put a long pause so they can just breathe out and relax, but also because it is the hottest point of the day, as Jeremy was pointing out earlier. So we try not to do anything at that time. And then by 4 o'clock, I outsource these classes. So these are teachers that my kids have worked with before that can come on Zoom to do music or Filipino or handwork with them. And then by 5 o'clock, this is another anchor point for the whole family. Everybody drops everything. My husband gets on his earpiece and joins us, even if he's on a meeting outdoors. So that could be a variety of activities from gardening, PE, or just biking around the village. And then we gather together for dinner and then quiet down, and bedtime is around 9 o'clock. So here's what the afternoon could look like. Yeah, so it's really important also to find out like who can help you with the schooling. So I needed to free myself every afternoon so that I could also work on other things. So I'm also still doing some work for school and some art projects that I haven't finished yet. So I really needed to release myself from teaching them at this time. And you'll find a lot of people are available to come in on Zoom for your kids. So third, okay, this is a bit complicated for people who are non-teachers, but I think if you have a homeschooling provider, this part is already written for you. But if you're rogue like me, you can explore on how to create your own curriculum at home. So here, I'll just go quickly through the tips because it's easier to explain it in pictures. So do take a look at the long year view so you can be ready. Instead of planning it by subject, I like to look at things in blocks of time with a main idea or a central idea in mind. And then I take a look at the different subjects that really support this lesson and access a skills and outcome checklist, which you can get, I think, from the DepEd website if you're particularly needing to stick with that, or any other good curriculum online would have it too. And then you curate your learning engagements based on this plan in a way that will invite inquiry and independent learning as much as possible. So here you're free to design it according to your children's specific learning style. So here's an example of what a year-long view would look like. So I plotted it out from May when we began, and our school year will end sometime in early March. And it has the subjects that I'm committed to teaching on the left column. And then I just map out like what is expected of them by the time they finish sixth grade. So that this way you have a roadmap and you're sure that you hit at least the topics that are assigned to your child's age level. And then in the very bottom, I included, my mom's birthday, my kids' birthdays, Father's Day. So all of these little bullet points will inform me when I'm planning the lesson. I also like to look at things in blocks or using one main theme as the center point. So my training is also in inquiry-based teaching. So I really recommend you guys look into this because it helps to organize the flow of your teaching and learning in a classroom. And I'm trying to translate that now into a homeschool setting. So here's an example of my sixth grader who finished a block on ancient Rome. And so instead of looking at separate subjects as separate from themselves, what this does is every single subject could actually support the main idea. So for him, it was pretty straightforward. Ancient Rome, looking into the civilization, how it started and ended, and what the factors were that uh, you know sort of put them on the map in terms of like an empire. So it is readily a history and geography topic. So that's a given. So when I presented the lessons, it was automatically about history and geography. But what you could look at as well are stuff like the art. We did mosaics as part of art. We took a look at the first alphabet from the Etruscans and how they were designed and informed the current alphabet we're using. We took a look at, in language arts, different Latin phrases and famous speeches from Shakespeare, which was really actually fun for me. And then there's also a lot of reading material and for writing. So every subject just supports the main theme rather than having, different subjects 1 hour each throughout the day. So at the very bottom of this paper in red would be subjects that they have to do that didn't necessarily support my main idea. So Filipino, PE, I'm sure I could have forced handwork, but I didn't bother. Spanish and music. So these were what we call standalones, and then we just sort of teach them as it is based on its own separate plan. So the fourth thing is to take a look at the resources you can have access to. So you can have a great plan, but if you don't have the stuff that will back it up, the plan just sort of falls through. So my first go-to is always people. Who are the experts within my reach? I go on a lot of calls, like with my friends who are teachers, and ask them a lot of questions. I have a friend right now who does some live classes on Facebook, and he invites expert speakers. That has been really helpful for me and my kids also. And then there are books and print and online resources that you can have access to. I found that surprisingly, a lot of these things were free, or you could like purchase them on Kindle and have them automatically for a relatively minimum price. And none of this has to be expensive. So, and hopefully, when things are better, you could go on field trips. Right now, you have access to virtual field trips. So, museums are online. You could actually explore a lot of different things. And then, of course, now everyone is migrating to online classes, so you can actually purchase for different supplementary classes depending on your child's interest. Here's an example of the curriculum for kindergarten. So it's really simple for kindergarten, that is inspired by the Waldorf school that we were going to. And it's based on just free play and a lot of emphasis on a good, healthy rhythm. But because I have another background in like teaching kinder, mine is a little bit more structured. So my week is based on a story. So this one is Jose Rizal's The Monkey and the Turtle. And in true Waldorf form, there are puppets that would I used to tell this story. So the monkey and the turtle over there are hand crocheted by a teacher that we love a lot. And then for language arts, I will pick up books that we have already on hand. So all their monkey books are there, their turtle books are there, and then I pre-cut some felt pieces that they could manipulate and just create their own stories with. So I'll just listen and I can hear a conversation between these two boys about these monkeys being eaten by a crocodile. And then for handwork, I like to set it up so that the characters come to life. So this turtle doesn't have a shell and he needs one. So my 6-year-old had to weave one around the stick. So as a teacher, we take a look at the different skills needed. So their fine motor skills, their pre-writing skills, language skills, motor for movement, and then for science that happens through their baking and snack preparation, and the water table that can have a myriad of exploration activities set up each week. And then their math is still needs to be really concrete. So here is a bunch of stickers that my child has to put coconuts on the tree based on the number he sees, and below that is things he needs to measure using gems. So he lines them up against what he needs to measure, counts them, and tries to write the number. So here's where he needs a little bit of my help. And then at the same time, the grade school is going on, and this is an example of the grade 5 ancient Egypt and grade 6 ancient Rome blocks. So for the 5th grader, she was just looking into how the gifts of the Nile gave rise to innovations of ancient Egyptians. So she studied a lot about the geography of the Nile River, and based on her understanding, created a 3D model using a lot of scrap materials we had at home. So we also try to be sustainable and not use, buy plastic stuff and things that would actually be just thrown away later on. So these are all recycled stuff except for the air dry clay. And then she actually really loves cooking and art. So one of the ways that I got her interested in this unit was asking her to look for recipes in ancient Egypt and preparing them for the family. And we all gathered together one dinner and celebrated with her by dressing up as ancient Egyptians and then enjoying her very weird tasting but interesting to learn about food. And then for my son doing ancient Rome, it was a lot of reading stories from historical texts and then making sense of it on his own and writing and summarizing and a lot of like recapping that in his own textbook. So the kids at the end of this block would have created their own textbook based on their learning. So we're not using a textbook and answering worksheets. They are creating this as they go along. And the main lesson book should be a record of what they understood, how they learned, and it really has to be written neatly and beautifully because yeah, that's just one of the things that we want to encourage the kids to be doing as early as now. So number 5, which is really important, this is maybe like the most important thing that I want to impart to parents listening to this today. All your plans, all the research that you put together in your head that makes sense might not make sense all the time to your kids. So you have to check in with them. At the end of the day, they are the learners and you're the facilitator. So it's really important that their input plays into your planning. You have to allow feedback to be part of your process. So at the end of the week, I do talk to them one on one and ask them what worked, what didn't. I have to say that it's a really emotional experience because your kids are very comfortable with you. You know, it's different. I'm teaching a class of maybe 20 kids and they're not my kids. So there's an air of authority when I come into the classroom and give them a lesson. They will just sort of accept it and do what they're told. But with your kids, there's a lot of like complaints, and you know they speak out a lot and tell you when they're feeling uncomfortable about something. And I think it's important to realize that they can do that because they trust you, because they know that no matter what they say or how they are, you will love them anyway. And so this is like one of the things that I have to remind myself every day, like not to react and just listen to them and help them to feel validated about their feelings. So, however, there are some things that I have to tell them, and we agree that are must do's, so non negotiable. You do have to have these lessons. You cannot deviate too far away from some of the things, and they actually do respect that as long as it's clear to them what to expect. And so you plan with their input in mind. So when you're doing the next block, you know, they feel like they have ownership also of their learning. And then number 6, which I can't emphasize enough, is you really have to be a full well to be able to teach your kids and be there for your family in a real way. So this is a really, really trying time for all parents out there. I see it, you know, there's a lot of memes making fun of this situation about how we should be paying teachers a lot of money now that we know what it's like to be teachers of our own kids. So you really do have to take really good care of yourself. And here are some tips on how I do that for me. So yeah, the first thing I think is when I start the day, I have to really have an open mind. And one way for me to do that is to just have a habit of prayer and gratitude. So before the day even begins, I have to be positive already, and because in the next 5 minutes they're gonna say something that will, you know, like could spark a reaction out of me, and I really have to fight really hard not to give in to that. Spending time with friends and loved ones, and making connections with other parents on a similar journey, and that's practically everyone right now. So you know, get in touch with your high school friends, people who are teachers too, people who are you know going through this in their own way. Everyone has their own perspective on this journey, and I find that we have a lot to always wanted to do. Having daily exercise and sunshine is really important, especially now. Building immunity is one of our key priorities as a family as well. And it's also a good time to learn new skills, or at least to keep growing with the changing times. So, you know, I realize I have to go back to school in a way and find how are people dealing with education in different platforms. I still want to know um, what's going on and how I can improve myself. So it's good to try to put yourself um, as a priority as well, so that you know if you're full, then the kids feel it, and it's more harmonious that way. So my personal learnings, really the number one is that our relationship with our kids is the most important thing. And because of that, I've actually had to call already like 2 health breaks in the past 3 months that I've been teaching. There's just, you can feel a breaking point. And sometimes you have to sit back and say, okay, I think we need to end today a little bit earlier. Let's go swimming. Let's take care of each other and ourselves, because really it's like super duper important that your kids know that you have their back, even if you're the one that they're annoyed at sometimes. Everyone is struggling to make sense of school right now. The whole world is experimenting. So, I like talking to my teacher friends and finding out like what they're doing in different countries that they're assigned to now. And we definitely have this in common. We're all trying to figure out how best to educate our kids, and we're all in this together. So it's a really good opportunity for us to connect with other people and find a way to imagine a different way of educating our kids, because the world just sort of flipped on its head and we have to figure this out. What we get from the government or DepEd sometimes is not necessarily going to be the only way. So we also have to help like inform each other on how to move forward with this. Mental and spiritual health definitely comes first. It's been 122, 23 days for us being indoors and just with our family, and that does take a toll on all of us. So we have to really take note of this and take care of each other. And stay grounded. I like to start my day with my intentions, and then really while I'm teaching my kids, I'm actually like asking for a lot of help from the Holy Spirit, like to say the right thing and to do the right thing throughout the day, and not to react in a way that will just, kind of like throw the whole day out of the window. And then ending the day with a backward review, like there's no one to check you now. In a school, you have like meetings with your team, you have a supervisor that will tell you how you can improve. Now you're kind of on your own with your kids and people who may not really be educators and won't really know how to give you tips. So it's upon us now to really like just review our whole day and see, okay, which part of this worked and didn't, and trying to be objective about it is a really big challenge. And then at the end of the day, expressing gratitude always helps. And this is my last slide, which I presented to a little group of moms yesterday. And I found that in every way, we have an opportunity to do good and to give the best of ourselves to our children. So there's so many virtues and values that we could learn from this. And for me, I think the strongest one of all of this for me would be fortitude, having the strength to resist the temptation to just quit, to say, forget it, this is too hard, to overcome obstacles and conquer fear. So right now, I think fear is like a really strong word that's being kind of shoved down our consciousness. Like people are afraid to go out, people are afraid of each other. And how can you teach your kids not to be afraid at a time where fear is everything? So for us, I really have to consciously get my kids to look outside of themselves, me included. Like it's not just about us, it's not just about our family unit. We have neighbors, some of them who are suffering from this sickness. We have our frontline workers. We have people who've lost jobs. So how is it that we can reach out to them in our way and still be a part of a community? So that's a big challenge. I don't have answers to those questions, but it's something that I like to bring to the table for my kids. So that's about it for my presentation.
Right.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Ina.
Right.
Thank you for sharing those points. Let me mention lang the points again. No? So I think the first one is to create a healthy home rhythm, right? And then
Yes.
the next one is adapt a schedule that works for your family. And then the third one is planning the curriculum. Um, and then the fourth one is to gather resources. The fifth one is to check in with your kids. And the last one is take care of yourself too. Tama ba? Those are
Yes.
the
Yeah.
points, right? Galing. Okay. Thanks for sharing those. Well, I have a question. Well, since you have 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, no? Um, I did a very short survey, and one of the concerns of the parents is how to make sure that the kids stay focused and attentive during class. I remember before the program we were talking about this. So maybe you'd like to share your some sort of a principle, because I think the mindset is fixed that this kid should be able to sit and watch the video or learn on their own.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, what I have to say about that is that's not necessary. I think like asking kids to sit down, watch a video, do a worksheet isn't the way that we should be educating our kids. I might get in trouble for saying that, but um, the philosophy that I do subscribe to is more taking a look at what children are developmentally capable of doing. So from the ages of 0 to 6, really like what you should be developing is their physical constituency. So if you're aware of that, then the activities really have to be based on movement, on a healthy rhythm, and a lot of play. If we could open our doors and allow them to play all day outdoors, that would be like the ideal natural way for them to build their bodies. But because we're locked indoors, we have to find creative ways to address that instead. So we do movement games and activities. So we'll do circle time songs where they get to jump and get their bodies moving and build on those large muscles. And then we also work on fine motor skills. So the recipes I told you about, having them work on house chores is already answering that need. So they wipe the tables with beeswax polish. They sweep the floor. They finger knit and they finger crochet. And they do baking, kneading, and a lot of like handwork
Very
in the kitchen. And
physical.
these are real life skills that they don't feel like it's a worksheet or a school
Yeah.
activity. It's just part of something we have to do at home to keep our home healthy and running.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Thanks
So,
for answering that. Jeremy.
yeah, when it comes to the curriculum, let's say I'm a non-teacher, I'm not really familiar with these educational principles. Where do I go to uh, to get the best curriculum for my
Okay. Well,
homeschool?
I think if you have kinder kids, I really recommend looking at Waldorf curriculum.
Okay.
For me, it's the most gentle way of educating your young kids. And if you're home and stuck with them, it makes so much sense. It's really based on your home chores and home rhythm. So your home becomes the curriculum. And there's a lot of articles and books you can find online if you research on Waldorf education. For the older kids, that's also an option. But if you want to look further into other modalities of learning, I also would recommend looking into the inquiry approach of learning, which is something that I learned about when I was teaching for many years at an inquiry-based school.
Mm, okay. All right.
All right. So I invite the viewers right now. If you do have questions, please
Yeah.
type it on the chat box. No. Well, next question. I wrote this down, so I'll read it. Okay. Um, how did you prepare your kids for the transition? Yeah.
Okay, I think that conversation happened over a while
Mm-hmm.
because, like, in the beginning, we didn't really have all the data that we could use to explain to them what was going on. Things were so up in the air about COVID, but they knew enough to know that we were in a situation that was beyond our control and that we had to make decisions for them based on the little that we knew at the time. So they had a little bit of an experience in the beginning of the year because of the Taal eruption, when school closed for 3 weeks and the school gave them their work through Google Classroom. So in a way, they had a sneak peek of what distance learning would be. And that was sort of like where the conversation happened. Like, can you imagine a whole year of doing that versus let's just do this together and we can work around our schedules? And I guess my bait was when things reopen, and kids have to go to school, we could be in the beach or, somewhere else and still learning, or
Yeah.
anywhere else still learning for the year.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. I guess for my final question. No? So um, the things you shared with us. What, well, aside from being a teacher, okay, these the parents who are new educators can also benefit from this. And what is that? Of course, aside from chaos, or what can they expect? I don't know if that's the right term, no, but what else can they expect in this new normal education? They're all at home, they're working from home, and the kids are home. So what else can they expect? The changes that they will expect aside from from this transition.
Wow, I mean, I wish I knew how to answer that question. I feel like I'm just on the same page as everyone else in terms of finding out, right? Because this is all happening to us real time with no one, with a gift of hindsight. No one has that yet. But
Right.
what I can say is there's a lot of us. So we can network and hold hands through this whole challenge together and figure it out. So everything I'm sharing today is not the
As
only
it
way to go.
happens.
It's just, yeah, it just happens to be my story for right now. And to be
All
honest,
right.
like I still don't know if it's going to be successful or good for my kids in the long run,
Uh-huh.
as compared to if I had signed up for a distance learning program. So I'm just doing what I think is best for my particular situation. And I think if all of us go by that philosophy, then we'll be okay, hopefully. It's a year of
Okay.
experimentation, and hopefully it's just a year and not too
I
long.
Yeah, I hope so
Yeah.
too. Jeremy, any questions for Ina?
Yeah. Well, I guess my last question would be, how do you continuously improve as a homeschooling
Yeah.
teacher?
I think the answer to that would be in the same way that we all try to continuously improve as teachers in our profession. You always have to study with your kids. I like the approach that I'm using. I've always subscribed to it because it doesn't mean that you have all the answers and you're sharing it with your kids. It's an approach where you are learning together. So they have questions better than mine, and my job is to find the resources so that they can answer it. So I think like if you have an open mind, if you are willing to be creative that way, and you don't try to control everything in the sense that you want things to happen only your way, then the whole journey, the whole experience is going to be an ongoing learning experience. I think always, and that would be like the only way to approach it. I think.
All
Right.
right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ina. Thank you for your time. Well,
Yes.
my biggest takeaway is your number one point, which is healthy home rhythm. Create a healthy home rhythm. For me, that's my biggest takeaway. I don't know for Jeremy. I'm sure he has a takeaway too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have four key points that I got from this conversation of ours. So the first one would be, again, the parents should be very involved and committed to teaching, and of course, you have to understand your child, right? Know their skills, their traits, their preferences, their behaviors, and also, Ina mentioned earlier that everyone should chip in. So again, the whole household should be part of the education of the children. And of course, maybe using things which are available to you within reach and
Yeah.
use them to aid in education and learning, right? So I guess those are my four takeaways from this conversation.
All right.
And
Ina, thank you very much.
Yay!
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
We learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers learned a lot too from you.
Yeah.
All right. I
Thank
hope
you
you can
both for
do
having me.
share. Yeah, you're welcome. Sana you can share more. Okay.
Oh yes.
I hope there's a next time. We learned a lot. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much to all those who joined us. Jeremy, thank you for your time. Ina, thank you for your time.
Thank you. You know.
To all the viewers, maraming salamat. I'm sure you all learned a lot from today's conversation. Have a good afternoon.
Yep. Good afternoon. Bye bye.
Bye, Ina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. All right, so Jeremy, okay, it's
Yep.
another knowledgeable afternoon. Is
Oh
that
yeah, definitely.
yeah? I
You
learned a
did a
lot.
lot. Yes.
Yeah, a different perspective naman. I mean, after hearing this, medyo na-relax ako ng konti that the pace should not be very stiff. It should not be very formal. It
Uh-huh.
should be learning should be fun, no? Hindi yung kailangan nakaupo maghapon, you know.
Hmm.
The involvement of parents should be on the side na, you learn together.
Yeah, definitely. You
Yeah.
know what I really like? The
Yes, what?
PE classes. You know, going outside. Yeah, going outside.
Yeah. Oo.
Yeah, that's what I really like.
Basta naka-mask.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
Naka,
Just be safe out there
hindi sir.
for everyone.
Oh, you were saying
Yeah,
something,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
All right, so bye-bye. I'll see you all tomorrow. Jeremy, hope you can join us. Are you still there? Parang frozen ka. It's going to be at 9:30 a.m.